Okay, that looks like we're on. Hey, this is Hammer Abbey, and I'm joined by the Chief. And we are going to be calling for you this game, Team Iceland versus Team Indigenous. And it should be getting underway in about 2.5 minutes. I will go ahead and tell you the roster for Team Indigenous for this particular game is 1-4 the Fighting Mongoose, 1491 is Windigo, 1680 is Daryl, 198 is Black Rock Bruiser, 207 is Squarrier, 23 is Bashful, 25 is Nina Brava, 491 is Jumpy McGee, 503 is Mixed Swagger, 504 is Cherry Popper, 67 is Interstella Burst, 90 is Deckham, 812 is Rossler. And Chief, why don't you take the Team Iceland roster for us here?
Team Iceland, I commentated them earlier on today. Crash Override is number 0. Number 12 is Lethal Leo. Number 15, Ice Rocker. Number 19, Bring It On. Number 273, Lara Frost. Number 3, Lexia Detrix. Number 32, Icicle. Number 36, their Star Jammer is Sunshiner. 383, Grim Creeper. 42, Sam Satan. Atla Nightmare. Number 67, Radish. Number 700, Mia Flawless. 75, Runaway, and 780, Bitchblade. So, from what I've heard as well, Grim Creeper and Bitchblade are both actually siblings. So it's nice to have a couple of siblings in the team, which is nice.
I always enjoy that. It's
always
a
good.
Lovely little connection.
Yeah, it's nice. Team Iceland, of course, coming off a great game against Costa Rica earlier on. I'm not too sure of the scores, but it was quite heavily towards Team Iceland's away.
So they have a win in their column for today. Team Indigenous, not yet, because they fell to Team Italy earlier today.
Yeah.
I was on that game.
One of the first games of the day today.
Yes, it was.
But not by too much. It was only by 20 or 30 points.
They had a nice comeback toward the end of that one. It started looking real strong. So I honestly have no idea what to expect in this game. I think it'll be some fun roller derby, hopefully, is what we got for you here on the Roll Line track. This is day one of the 2018 Roller Derby World Cup. We are in Manchester, England. And since I'm really old for making that reference, it's from the musical Hair. Please excuse me. But it's what runs through my head every time I think about where I am. So I had to get that out at least once. Sorry.
You don't have to
Sorry
apologize.
about you at home having to listen to me sing badly.
That's okay. I'm sure everyone at home will forgive you.
I appreciate it. I mean, I think they're awake by now. So we got Rage jamming for Team Indigenous against Sensational for Team Iceland.
Sensational against Rage. I thought Rage is in. She's totally in.
Oh, yeah. We were told to cross that person off our list, but they are here and we didn't read.
In right now. It's so in. Rage is the lead jammer. She's that in. and she's going up against Iceland's front runners, and she's putting points on the board. That's 5 points for Team Indigenous up against Team Iceland.
Whistles are blowing. We've got one blocker from each. No, I'm sorry, 2 from Iceland and 1 from Team Indigenous now in the penalty box. And a 5-point Grand Slam pass in the meantime while Rage is at it.
You know, for someone who just 5 seconds ago wasn't actually in this game, she is certainly doing a great job.
Really good. I know. I'm so impressed. And speaking of, another 5-point Grand Slam. So this is already a 15-point jam for Team Indigenous, looking to come out real hot in this game.
That is certainly the way to start, by having a jam like this.
There's another 5 points.
I love the jammer cover as well. That's a really lovely one. I've seen some really good jammer covers over the weekend today, and that is one of the nice ones.
I appreciate all of the different iconography from different countries, and of course Team Indigenous representing various people from not countries, but from different indigenous peoples and tribes in different lands.
Yes.
And I'm going to have to get the story on that actual symbol, because I know there's great meaning behind it, and I'm blanking on what it is, but I'm going to find it out so we can talk about it.
That's a great idea.
But meanwhile, that was a 20-point jam for Rage.
What a way to start the game! And so in the last game, they had I think 67 points in total.
So that's a little bit of a big start for them.
Bit of a game changer.
Speaking of players that we thought weren't on the roster this time, Supernova jamming for Team Indigenous now. Apologies.
We've been given a bum steer. Or that's what they call it back
A bum
home.
steer?
Yeah,
That's a very different thing in Wisconsin. But,
yeah.
So
led up the garden path.
I'll tell you who's jamming for Iceland here in a second once I can see their number. But Supernova is going to go ahead and go out and get lead jammer for Team Indigenous. I have to note Supernova is one of my home teammates from the Mad Rollin' Dolls in Madison, Wisconsin.
Blackrock Bruiser doing a great job in taking out Lexia to Tricks. Now, forgive me if that's not the correct pronunciation of Lexia. It might be Tree. It does look like Lexia to Tricks.
Well, meanwhile, Lexia in the penalty box now for Team Iceland. So Team Indigenous does have a power jam opportunity. We're going to get our stuff together here any minute now. I know we're like it's coming together. We're gonna figure this out.
Like a well-oiled machine. And I'll tell you what, Team Indigenous are certainly coming out a lot stronger than we are in this game.
Yes.
And they're smashing it.
Team Iceland, though, giving Nova a real hard time at the front of the pack here, but now going to pick up a forearm call on, well, no one is responding to it, but I'm pretty sure I saw one called. So maybe they called it off. Sometimes refs change their mind.
Supernova, another 5 points on the board for Team Indigenous.
And Nova now free of the pack as the whole pack starts coming into the near straightaway yet again. Whistles are rolling. This is a forearm being called an icicle from Team Iceland. Nova sees an inside line pretty much wide open, but gets hit down real quick last minute there by Brinadon.
Brinadon, great hit there to 185 Supernova.
And that's going to be another 5-point pass for Team Indigenous. Nova nodding her head. Yep, I can do this.
Well, they must have had a power talk somewhere along the way because they are coming out swinging in this second game of the day. Certainly a different team we're watching today. I mean, not that they didn't fight against Team Italia, but Team Indigenous 39 just after the first two jams.
Well, I think that's one of the most fascinating things. We've got a timeout on the track, so I can talk about this a little bit. At World Cup, especially, a lot of these teams, the people don't get to play together very often outside of World Cup. There's a little bit of practice beforehand. You know, for instance, Team Russia apparently met for the first time 2 days ago.
Really?
So we watch them become a team over the course of the weekend,
well,
and you
exactly.
see it just get better and better and start to cohese as they figure each other out and start to work. It's such a unique opportunity and experience for so many of these skaters, and especially when they're coming from so many disparate places. You know, and Team Indigenous is not a country, so these are folks who are necessarily coming from a wide variety of locales.
Well, maybe they could take out the cup by the time that they're finished.
They
work their way
points
up like a snowball.
Right?
Avalanche their way through to victory.
There would be something poetically justice-related if Team Indigenous was able to knock out Team USA.
I would love
be super
that.
into that.
Yeah.
And I'm from the United States.
Well, look,
no shade to the team whatsoever, but poetic.
I'm from Australia, and we've just passed our Invasion Day, and it's a big topic of discussion. The changing of the date of our sort of colonialisation. And so Team Indigenous is sort of somebody. I was really happy to be commentating with Team Indigenous because the native people of this world have certainly been hard done by a lot of different cultures.
Well, and I appreciate that Team Indigenous is doing a lot to raise awareness about violence and like the abduction of Indigenous women in various places. So that's one of their big missions and causes, especially with this weekend.
Yeah.
So anyway, back on the track now after that very heavy topic.
Yeah, back into roller derby.
Fatality now with lead jammer status for Team Indigenous. Sunshiner still stuck in the pack on the near straightaway for Team Iceland is able to break free. Coming around the corner now, Fatality on a scoring pass. Gets knocked to the outside, calls it off. 1 point.
Sunshiner for Team Iceland has coming out just the first jam for this game. But she had a mammoth game against Costa Rica. I think something like 80 points by herself. And I'm pretty sure she got every single lead jam. So I'm expect to see some great things from Sunshiner this game, I'd say.
It's going to be Sam back on the line for Iceland. So looking like they've got a 3-jammer rotation so far. And for Team Indigenous,
it's number 40.
Tough.
Which is tough. Tough from a Māori from New Zealand.
And Tough with lead jammer status.
And she's straight to the front, Tough.
Just like her name.
She's so tough.
Powering through. And a star pass from Team Iceland going to the pivot That is number 59, Katla Nightmare. But Team Indigenous going to pick up 4 points real quick and call it off before Iceland can do anything with that. So Team Indigenous now at 44 points, Iceland 0. 22 and a half minutes left in the game.
Well, we are watching a very different game. I mean, a lot of these teams, you don't get to know where they're at prior to coming in. But and a lot of things people say that you're only as good as your last game. It's really hard to sort of gauge comparatively.
You can't really say that about World Cup weekend.
No, you cannot.
We have no idea what the rankings of these teams are and their relative strength. That's the whole point of this first day in these 30-minute games. Is to try to suss that out. Rage. Angrily, no, actually happily, she's smiling.
Massive smile on her face.
Yes, that's not true to your name, but
no.
lead for Team Indigenous, but not too far behind, nipping at her heels, jamming for Iceland. Gonna call it off before that comes to anything though. 2 points for Indigenous, but that was, who was that? Oh, that was Alexia Dietrichs for Iceland. So, yep, still sticking with the 3-jammer rotation there. And so far looking like we might be starting over with a 4-jammer rotation for Team Indigenous.
Sunshiner up against Supernova.
By the way, Kaya Skates, well, I'll tell you about them in a second. I don't want to do a sponsor read in the middle of a game. We'll talk about it in a second.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of time for that.
Lots of time.
Supernova caught right up in the middle of that Iceland front wall. And it looks like a multiplayer block and Supernova taking lead jam.
Yeah, the multiplayer block being called on Team Iceland. Skater headed to the box now.
Number 75 for Iceland, Runa Way.
And a successful star pass to Iceland's pivot, Lara Frost. But Nova going to pick up those 4 points for Team Indigenous and call it off.
No, that's right. Only just got the helmet cover on before she took it straight back off.
So, like I was saying, Kaya Skates, quad roller skates, plates and accessories for roller derby, lifestyle, park skating, and dance. It's time. www.kayabrand. Oh, sorry, I'm going to spell this out. CHAYA-brand.com.
That's a good idea.
I have them occasionally, but I am also probably very jet lagged right now, so who knows?
And we are straight back in there with Sensational and for Team Iceland and Team Indigenous Fatality.
Fatality also on the roster, though we were not to believe that was the case. Fatality.
Uncross these names.
I know, right? With lead jammer and Sam not too far behind, about a quarter track. And coming into the packs on the far straightaway, Fatality hits hard and booted to the inside, calling it off while she's doing it. And that's going to be a 3-0 jam for Team Indigenous.
Very smart 3 points there, just slamming into the back of that Iceland defense and then calling it off nice and quick.
So far a 100% lead jammer status for Team Indigenous, and that is reflected in the 53-0 score we are staring at right now. Alexia Dietrichs taking the star for Iceland, and that's going to be tough for Indigenous.
That is tough.
And Tough powering her way up in the front for Iceland blockers as the packs start to spread apart a little bit into the first turn. And Tough with lead jammer status for Team Indigenous.
And number 40, Tough, racing around that track, hitting the back end of those Iceland blockers and just nailing them.
Yep. And Tough is through for a 5-point grand slam for Team Indigenous. And the pack's hanging out in turn 3. Tough back around another scoring pass, getting the business from, I believe that's Bring It On. And that's going to be a cut call on a blocker. Rossler going to the box for Team Indigenous. Meanwhile, 5 more points for Team Indigenous as well.
And that's a great jam there by Tough for Team Indigenous. Pulling in a few extra points, I believe, on that backhand.
There was one final point being signaled there by the ref. Series of penalties bedeviling Team Indigenous toward the end of that jam. Gonna get my Scrabble points here. So they will start with just 2 blockers on the track and a timeout. Team Indigenous. Just a chance to reset. Things were getting a little squirrely there. Losing a couple of blockers.
Maybe this is the opportunity that Iceland's been waiting for to put some points on the board.
They're going to have to dig deep. Right now, Team Indigenous pretty much having their way with Team Iceland.
They are.
And, I mean, not for lack of excitement in the game. They're just not able to find daylight for their jammers in time to get them lead status. So Indigenous with 100% still.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the original hand-prepared skate bearing, Cheese Balls Precision Skate Bearings, available in-house at the Quad Skate Shop booth or online. It's easy being cheesy. Cheese Balls bearings are now lactose-free. Available in-house at the Quad Skate Shop booth or online.
That's good to know, because I myself am wildly lactose intolerant.
Oh, well, you should not have them. You're not even allowed to have them on your feet.
I thought they said they were lactose-free now.
Oh, no, they are. You're right.
Yeah.
You can have them.
I can have them. It's safe.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Must mean that they're finally aged.
They must be. And not ingesting them surely helps.
Probably that as well. So as the timeout comes to an end, I want to remind you that if you stick around on the feed tonight, when the games are done, there will be a post-day, post-game, post-show kind of thing.
Yeah.
We're going to run down some of our favorite moments of the day, talk to some of the audience member interviews and all that good stuff. So do stick around for that.
Yeah, that's right. We've been sort of gearing everyone up here in-house as well to come and sort of join in the fun. So everyone's going to be there after the game. Bit of a recap about what's happening today.
Out there on the track right now, Rage for Team Indigenous, Sunshiner for Team Iceland. And I should note, in case you were wondering, the clock does continue to tick during those team timeouts.
Yeah.
The only thing that stops the clock during these 30-minute games is injury or an official's timeout.
I think even the official time's out. Actually, the clock still winds down.
It doesn't if it's like track maintenance or things like that. I've seen it stop for that.
Right.
So that seems, that seems only fair.
That seems a bit fair. But they are half-hour games, and also if a skater gets 4 fouls, then the skater is then out.
Yes.
As opposed to the normal 7. So there are a few different rules changes if you're looking in.
Hey, meanwhile, sneaking in the back there, Iceland just picks up its first 3 points of the game, and they are rightly stoked, as are all the Team Iceland fans on the sidelines right now. Hugs all around. I mean, there's still 15 minutes left in the game, too. They got time to put more points up there, and I believe that they can do it. But, yeah, so we got 66-3.
That's so great.
A hard-earned 3 for Team Iceland.
That's what I love about roller derby.
Right.
You can have a complete, watching another game earlier on, if you're watching an Australian game, a really heavily one-sided game. As soon as the other team scores, it is ballistic out there.
Right. People are just very, very supportive, and I'm super into it. That is not supernova jamming, even though I'm looking at the scoreboard and that's what it says it was. There was a little bit of confusion on the line.
No fatality.
That's fatality with lead for Team Indigenous and sensational for Iceland.
Yeah.
And those are our whistles. I always have to look at the refs to make sure that those are our whistles because there's a lot of noise in this room from the 3 other active tracks.
So many whistles.
Oh, the whistles. I'm going to be dreaming about whistles tonight.
Yep.
So Team Indigenous now at 69 to Team Iceland's 3.
We are now halfway through, just over halfway through this game. And in Team Indigenous seem to have a very strong lead and now very commanding control of this game so far. I don't know. We got an official review as called. I'm not too sure which team has called that. It looks like it's Team Iceland.
It does look like that's, yep.
So,
Iceland.
as you'll notice, the clock is still ticking down for the official reviews as well, as we mentioned before. Wow. If you can hear that game over there, like that roaring noise is Team Australia versus Team Ireland. And no doubt Ireland, with the large proponent of fans over there and waving
We're pretty close
flags.
by to our location here in Manchester. So
Sure
I know I ran into a number of Dublin roller derby skaters on my way over on the plane because I came in from Dublin.
Oh,
they were
nice.
just excited to come and be spectators.
Yep.
And I cannot overemphasize how packed this place is. And it's not just skaters. There are a lot of folks who've come in from all over the place to watch this weekend.
That's what makes it such an amazing event, to have such a global community come together and all share the same experience. It's absolutely awe-inspiring. Meanwhile, back on the game, it looks as though Team Iceland, this decision stands as they've utilised their official review and it's gone. So
They've also utilized Ice Rocker for the first time, taking the star for Team Iceland. And does have lead. So Nova, jamming for Team Indigenous, is in front of Ice Rocker right now on the track skating-wise, but Iceland does have lead. Well, they're going to tell her to keep going. They're like, nope, just we only have so much time. You got to take advantage of these leads while you have them.
She went to call it off, and they're like, you know what? Don't call it off.
Nova through without too much trouble, though. 4 points on the far straightaway. Ice getting knocked to the outside. Has 3 Team Indigenous blockers to beat. Coming into turn 3, gets hit to the inside and dragged back a little ways. Nova back around on a scoring pass. Big pileup. She is going to pick up a back block for that impact. So now it is a power jam for Team Iceland.
Well, this is certainly not going to do them any injustice. And there's 5 more points on the board for Team Iceland, which is fantastic news for them as she's skating around. And we've got pretty much a standstill pack.
I believe that was I'm going to say with authority, that was the first jammer penalty for Team Indigenous in this game.
Well, good to see them playing such a great, clean game.
Well, and I can say that Supernova is not traditionally a jammer. She has been thrown into jam this weekend, and that is not what she normally does, and she was both terrified and thrilled to do it. So I think,
well, for someone who doesn't normally do it, she's certainly pulling out all the stops.
Doing just fine.
Yeah. I'd say that she should probably look into this a little further.
I might talk to her about that. 76 for Team Indigenous, 8 points for Team Iceland. After that lovely jam, we've got about 11.5 minutes left in the game.
Well, that's a great jam there for Team Iceland, and getting 5 points on the board.
Tough with, I would say, star, but the cool symbol that I'm going to find out about for Team Indigenous. And going up against
Lara Frost.
Thank you. And that's the first time with a star for Lara Frost. And into turn 1, there is a track cut being called on a Team Indigenous blocker. But Tough is through with lead for the team.
That was Rossler getting a cut track and making her way through to the bin there.
But through on initial pass is Laura, so Tough going to go ahead and call that off.
And again, Team Iceland with another 5 points on the board.
So Team Iceland looking like they are trying out some new jammers, because now we do have, who's that, 59, Katla Nightmare, who has not jammed yet in this game. Which, I mean, you gotta try some stuff. Throw everything at the wall, see what sticks.
If it's not working, try it out, try something else.
And that's Rage for Team Indigenous. Rage with lead. And Rage with a 100% lead status in this game so far.
Which is a pretty good percentage.
Not too shabby. Katla's still stuck in the pack. Rage spins around. A nice little bit of footwork there to pick up a grand slam for Team Indigenous. Pack's hanging out between turn 1 and 2. Katla battling against 3 Team Indigenous blockers, 1 in the box. And a star pass. Sneaky to the pivot for Team Iceland. That's Sunshiner now. But Rage calls it off with another 4 points for Team Indigenous. 86-13 now, under 10 minutes, approaching the 9-minute mark, in fact.
Yep.
Although the clock on the screen has frozen, I can assure you the time marches on.
The time most certainly does march on. What a great day of roller derby we've all had today. I hope you've enjoyed watching all of it today. If you're glued to your televisions all the way around the country.
And the world.
And the world,
as
that's
it were,
right.
In the various time zones, and the people who got up real early to cheer on their teams in various places.
Yep, or the people who have saved it to watch later on.
Uh-huh. You can listen to our voices on repeat. That's going to be Lexia de Trix jamming for Iceland. And 23 Bashful for Team Indigenous, first time with a star in this game.
Yeah, it did seem like it was the first jam for Bashful there. And she's first time out, 100%, smashing it.
That's how I like to look at my stats. And a star pass from Team Iceland 5-point grand slam for Bash, though. Iceland's starting to get a little bit better and better as this goes along, realizing that if they can pass the star very quickly after not getting lead, they can hold Team Indigenous to much lower scoring jams.
That's true. It's certainly a lot less one-sided than it was at the start of the game.
A little more momentum for Team Iceland here. Lara Frost with the star, and for Iceland, obviously in gray. I don't think I said that earlier, so I should just say that, just in case you were wondering. Fatality in black for Team Indigenous. I'm assuming people have gotten that by now, but I'm just going to put it out there. Fatality in the front against 3 Icelandic blockers, 1 in the box, and in the back, Team Indigenous has all 4.
Team Iceland's blockers doing a great job up against Fatality in the front there. Only now is Fatality just making her way through and becoming lead jammer in this game.
Run away for Iceland in the penalty box now. One of the penalty that helped break up that defensive formation in the front and getting Faye through for lead. And a star pass. Starting to see a trend here.
They are loving the star pass.
And so only 4 points for Team Indigenous.
And it's always Sunshiner getting the star pass at the end, going, just going to whack it on my head. Nah, going to take it off and not go over, sit down.
Fun thought. I mean, she had been one of the regular jammers in the rotation for a while in the game now, and now they've just been routinely putting her in as a pivot. So interesting change of strategy.
Still in the rotation, just doesn't start as the jammer. You got number 185, and that's Supernova jamming for Team Indigenous, and number 59 jamming for Team Iceland. That's Cutler Nightmare. Star pass straight out of the booth, but not fully successful.
Lethal Leo hitting Nova to the inside, dragging her back. Nova having to start over again. Has 2 to beat in the front.
It's Sam Stational who's got the star, and she's putting it on her head now.
It was interesting because Nova had not yet actually won lead when Iceland decided to do that star pass. Now, you can use it as a strategy occasionally, especially if you're down far like this, but I'm always interested as to why teams decide to do that, or if it was maybe a mistake on the jammer's part. If they thought because Nova was up ahead that she'd already had lead.
Yeah.
Because, there's a lot of whistles, there's a lot of stuff going on, and sometimes you can definitely miss things.
I reckon they just got really into passing that star.
They did have a wave going.
A bit of a rhythm.
5-point grand slam for Nova and Team Indigenous. So they're up over the century mark now at 109 to Team Iceland's 13. As Iceland has been held scoreless since the scoring terror they went on a few jams ago.
The rampage.
High block on Iceland. Blocker headed to the box. Nova picking up a 5-point grand slam in the meantime, and a big pile up in turn 2. If we could get a cleanup on turn 2. Cleanup.
Meanwhile, Supernova taking full advantage of that and skating around this track like she stole something.
Mick Swagger headed to the box for Team Indigenous as the pivot.
Mick Swagger, also the coach of Team Aotearoa.
Mick Swagger does a few things.
She's
just
got
a few.
Many hats.
Well, we have 2 blockers racing to the box. So the box is pretty full right now. And I believe that may be a foul out for Team Iceland skater, who has now left the box, making a sad face about it. Because you can only get 4 penalties in these 30-minute games, and I suspect that is what's just happened. And I think that was number 75. I'm not supposed to speculate. Runaway. Yes, Runaway is not running away, but very, graciously leaving the track.
Away.
Skating away.
Right. She's just skating around to the other side. She's gonna.
Yeah,
I'm glad they changed the rules on having to leave the venue. The rules used to be that
harsh.
Once you got found out, you had to skate outside, go down the street, get to another suburb, catch a bus, and get out of there. Now,
and self-flagellate while you're doing it too.
Exactly.
Whip yourself.
Who's a naughty skater? now at least you can sit and watch the rest of the game, which is pretty reasonable.
That's nice. Rage with lead jammer status for Team Indigenous on this jam, and about a half track behind. That's Ice Rocker.
Ice Rocker is only a few times jamming, but she seems to be doing not too bad.
Not too bad at all. And Team Indigenous picks up a few more points, and they call it off with, I think the score's supposed to get updated. 128-13 for Team Indigenous. Just under 3.5 minutes left. I keep wanting to say in the half, but it's not. It's just this game.
It feels like
the whole
half.
game.
When I got a friend who recently went to Iceland, And I said, look, I'm going to be commentating Iceland a little later on. Have you got any factoids that I might be able to recount? And she tried to tell me that Reykjavik was run by cats.
Run by cats?
Yeah, and I said, I'm not going to mention that. That's crazy talk.
And
here I am mentioning it.
You sneakily mentioned it.
I know. So, number 13, Fatality, lead jammer for Team Indigenous. Most definitely not a cat, but in control of this jam. She is sliding around the outside edge with just 2 minutes and 42 seconds left in the game.
And Sunshiner had started off as the jammer, has now passed the star to Laura Frost, still holding it in her hand, trying to get around, but getting hit to the outside by Mick Swagger, the aforementioned Mick Swagger. Oh, nice deflection there, just kind of spinning around the hit.
Good try from Sunshiner, unfortunately not converting it. Fatality still on a roll.
And ducking under on the outside again. Fatality, more points. That's going to be 5-point grand slam. Just trying to rack up the points again. This is a big important thing. If you can really rack up the point differential today, it's going to benefit your standings once the tournament proper starts tomorrow.
That's right. Points differential is a thing, and it makes a big difference. And sort of good, a couple of points here or there might be able to chuck them up an extra ranking.
5 more points for Fatality. Making use of the outside line. Iceland having a hard time holding that down. As we get to the final minute and a half of this game. And that's 5 more points. I've lost track. This is a big jam for Fatality.
This is a mammoth jam for Fatality. She's going to be pretty stoked with herself as she's still got another 17, 18 seconds left on the clock.
And there she goes, another 5.
35-point jam, and still maybe a little time for clocking up a 40.
Lara Frost still stuck in the pack with the star in her hand. Has spent this entire jam.
I think she's done it. She's got herself a 40-point jam.
40-point jam. All right, not too bad.
That is all right.
Just brushing the dust off your shoulder after that one a little bit.
Yeah, you've got to be happy with yourself after a 40-point jam in a World Cup. That's going on the CV.
I was like in my memory book, in my scrapbook, but yes, definitely there too. Ice Rocker now taking the star for Iceland, going up against Bashful for Indigenous. We got 30 seconds on the clock, 168-13.
Ice Rocker having to skate back behind the blocker who knocked her out, which was number 64 from Team Indigenous.
And lead going to Bashful. And pulling a multiplayer call on Team Iceland's skater going to the box. Now 2 down for Team Iceland. And there's the star pass.
Very coveted move.
Lexia Detrix now struggling to get the star on her helmet. Bashful coming around, trying to kind of mess with her. Doesn't work out so well because this is a slippery track.
Yeah.
So the minute you stop paying attention to what you're doing with your feet, it can go terribly wrong.
There was, I think there was a lot of dust this morning on the track as well. It was a very slippery track, all concrete floors. And it looks like Team Indigenous has round this one home with 173 points over Team Iceland's 13. Now, that's not official, but it certainly does look official. As soon as they blow their whistles, I'm sure it'll be all sorted out. So, I'm just going to go through Team Iceland's team. And you can celebrate the team that came second. Crash Overdrive, number 0. Lethal Leo, number 12. Ice Rocker, 15. Brenadon, number 19. Lara Frost, 273. Lexia Detrix, number 3. Icicle, 32. Sunshiner, 36. 383. Grim Creeper, 42. Sensational, 59. Cutler Nightmare, 67. Radish, 700. Mia Flawless, 75. Runaway, and 780 Beach Blade.
Interesting factoid here from my stalwart producer. So Team Indigenous scored a 20-point jam at the start of the game, and then that 40-point jam at the end. Either one beats Iceland in one jam.
Wow.
That is crazy. So Team Indigenous got to feel pretty good about that showing, and getting a win on the record for themselves today.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll tell you. So Team Indigenous, because we didn't call them initially in the roster, was number 13, Fatality. 14 was the Fighting Mongoose. 1491 it was Wendigo. 1680 was Daryl. 185 was Supernova. 198 was Black Rock Bruiser. 207 was Warrior. 22 was Rage. 23 was Bashful. 25 was Nina Brava. 40 was Tough. 491 Jumpy McGee. 503 Mick Swagger. 504 Cherry Popper. 67 Interstellar Burst. 90 Deckham. 812 Rustler.
I've been Chief Intent from the Roll Line track here on the final game of the day.
Yes, for this track, I do believe you are correct. And I've been Hammer Abby. It has been an absolute pleasure. We hope to have you on board again tomorrow for day 2 of the 2018 Roller Derby World Cup, live from Manchester. Thanks to the Rainy City Roller Girls, and we are out.
Stay tuned for more World Cup tomorrow.